All right, second time guest Chris Barnett joins the dime. Chris, hot take to start the show. What you got?
All right, I've got something, and this is dealing with the 2-8 Lakers. Okay.
Oof. Okay.
Rob Pelinka got a contract extension, and a lot of people are asking why. Here's why. He somehow convinced Jeannie Buss that getting a clear cap sheet with only Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Damian Jones if he opts into his player option, and Max Christie on their roster for $85 to go into free agency to pick up who? Miles Turner, who they can get right now.
You could get him right now if you wanted to.
Right now, you can get Miles Turner. Right now, you can get Buddy Hield. Have you looked at the 2023 free agent list of unrestricted? It ain't nice.
It ain't pretty, baby.
And if the Lakers really want to contend, they better pull a rabbit out of their hat, or this is it. This is how it ends.
It's more than a rabbit out of the hat. This is bad. I think it's over. But we'll get into that. All that and more next on the dime.
You are now listening to The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, your weekly go-to podcast for all things NBA. And now, your host, Josh Rodriguez.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Dime, presented by the Ball is Life podcast network. The Utah Jazz are forcing us to talk about them. Will the Golden State Warriors be able to get themselves together? And it's election day. My guests and I cast our votes for the candidates we feel can represent the NBA this season. But first, if you want to follow The Dime, you can on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube at The Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. All episodes will be broadcasted from the Ball is Life podcast network YouTube channel. So if you're watching right now, that's where you are. Make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe, and turn on notifications. I also have a Dime YouTube channel that you can check out as well. Listen, I know if you're listening on audio, it's a great thing, and I really appreciate you, but make your way over to YouTube. That's where things are going now. I know audios might be comfortable, but it's a little bit of a thing of the past now. It's okay. But we're going to talk to someone who's really big in the audio space right now, just in a different way than the podcast platform. I'll introduce him right now. He's a creator and the voice of HoopSpaces, providing a community for us hoop heads to talk about our favorite teams, players, and headlines on Twitter Spaces. Everybody, please welcome to Dime for the second time. It's Chris Barnett. Chris, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
Great. I'm good, Josh. I'm happy to be back, man, and I'm happy that the NBA is back, and I'm happy for episode 134 of the Dime. Like, I want to give you some congratulations. It's a grind, people. Oof. Head over there to YouTube, hit that subscribe. 134 episodes is golden material. Make sure you support not only the Dime here, but hit up him, Josh, here on Twitter too. He's perfect for you. Trust me.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that, man. You know, you explained what HoopSpaces was last episode, but I want to get into that again because I think it's such a great platform for people who want to be sports media personalities and want a job in the industry. Can you just explain what HoopSpaces is really quick before we get into the show?
Yeah, man. Twitter Spaces is a social drop and audio platform. It's really been popular. It was popularized by the pandemic, but it's been around for a while. I've been pioneering it. And literally, it's your live daily radio call-in show with a whole bunch of passionate fans for basketball. I host it. I'm pretty well connected now within the NBA world. We get some good guests, whether reporters, former players, they come on in here. And you actually have a basketball discussion with some hot takes. This is a little bit different than what you're used to. This isn't, the NBA today. This isn't, first take. We have some of that, but what we found, and when I say we, the community we built here, is we were missing something. We were missing something in the basketball coverage that we weren't receiving, and HoopSpaces was created to fill that void. So if you want to come up and you want to share your passion about your favorite team or your favorite player, we're here. All you got to do is search the hashtag HoopSpaces or find me at HoopSpaces on Twitter, and come on in Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. You'll have a great time. Trust me.
It's a great time. And even if you don't even come up and speak, I mean, I used to speak in the beginning. I haven't in a while, and I plan on returning and having my voice heard. But I like just going in and starting my day. I'm on the West Coast, so it starts a little earlier for me, but just starting my day. And it's a nice refresher, and it's a different point of view than your debate shows and your first takes and your first things first. I'm someone who those shows don't bother me, if I'm being honest with you. But it's nice to get a break from that. It's also nice to hear like an average NBA fan's opinion as well, and other people who are up and coming. It's a great time, and Chris does a great job running it. If you're on Twitter, I highly suggest, again, search the hashtag HoopSpaces and follow Chris at HoopSpaces. Chris, are you ready to get into the show?
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a great show.
All right. So it is election day. And because it's election day, I did put together, a couple of elections that we're going to go through. I put a couple Twitter polls. We might go through those as well. But I wanted to get your take on if these players were up for these certain positions in the U.S. government, how would we vote? Are you ready, Chris?
I'm ready. I am ready.
Right. So here we
this
go.
is going to be fun.
All right. So first, we have United Nations Ambassador Luka Doncic versus Nikola Jokic. This is for United Nations Ambassador, a.k.a. Best Foreign Player. Chris, what you got?
He's the back-to-back winning MVP.
Right.
And we can't take this away from him. He moves like a man who's just going to go to the Y and get a good 30 minutes in on the elliptical. And Nikola Jokic shows up day in and day out and balls. I mean, double-doubles, assists. They run the offense through him. And, like, the killer part is what's happening. You know what's going to happen, and it still continues to happen because you can't stop him. That being said, I am going with Luka Doncic on this one, ladies and gentlemen. There is a misnomer about these international players that they don't have flair, they don't have the pizzazz, and Luka has it in spades. So, like, if I am going for the top international player, I want the international player that's going to galvanize and inspire more international players. I want more Luka Doncic. I want more Jokic. Don't get me wrong, but you can't go wrong either way.
No, you can't.
Got to cast my vote for Luka, though.
Yeah, I'm going to cast my vote for Luka as well. But this was a lot closer than I think some people might think. I mean, again, you said Jokic is a two-time MVP. How can you go wrong with a two-time MVP? How can you get higher than a two-time MVP? Well, I think by saying that, I think Luka actually might be the front runner right now, or one of the front runners for MVP right now. I think if Dallas had a better record, if Dallas had a little bit of a better record, they got to a little bit of a slow start. But, if Dallas can put together maybe 5-6 wins in a row, you're going to hear Luka's name because he's been killing it this whole year. I like Jokic a lot, but let's be honest. I think flair and swag have a little bit to do with why we're choosing Luka here. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm not saying that, as of right now, Luka's better than Jokic. I think you can make a case for either. But when I'm talking about the future, when I'm talking about someone who's going to represent the NBA and the game of basketball, I want to point to someone who has the ball in their hands and who can make things happen in any way possible. Not saying that Jokic can't, but Luka's got that step back from three. Luka could go in the pick and roll. The only thing is, I wish he played better defense. But people don't really care too much about defense unless you really, really watch the game.
You know what? Like there's precedent here too. There's a reason why people call it Kobe's era instead of Tim Duncan's era. And that has something to do with it. Like that flair, the ability to connect with the average fan, that right there is something special. And that's kind of what separated, in my opinion, Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant, and how fans really revered Kobe on a personal level. Like everybody revered Tim on a basketball level. They do that with Jokic, but they revere and try to relate to Luka like they did to Kobe. And I think that's what puts them over the top.
That was a hell of a comparison. We're going to end it right there. Let's move on to the next category. It's Speaker of the House. Best trash talker, basically. Joel Embiid or Draymond Green. Chris, how you voting?
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal preference. I know how I like my trolls. and Joel Embiid is there. But if you're talking just pure trash, right, Joel does not compare to Draymond Green.
Trash, he doesn't. You're right.
He just doesn't stop. Like, I've seen him live enough. And even I, who am a fan of Draymond Green, is like, bro, you could chill. Like, you haven't done anything in 3 minutes. Like, why are you yelling at Patrick Williams of the Chicago Bulls? I don't get it. So, I got to go Draymond. It just works. But I will say this. Joel's got the one-liner.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch the game, if you happen to go and you can sit close enough to courtside, he will zing somebody and have everybody at the free throw just cracking up, trying not to laugh in public. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and honestly, that's why I'm going to go with Joel, if I'm going to be honest with you, just because I prefer that way of trash talking. I mean, if they were both on my team, I think Joel would probably drive me less crazy, and I would encourage Joel's antics more than Draymond's, because Draymond's can get annoying for his own team. I mean, that he kind of gets out of control.
There's record now too, so he can't hide
Joel's way better. So like you can get away with trash talking if you're averaging 30 a game, but if you're averaging like 5, 6, and 7, and then you're on a down year and then you punch your teammate in the face, there's only so much I can take. So maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I might have voted for Draymond, but he's kind of like had his day. I'm in for the new regime. I'm voting for the young, fresh candidate. That's what I'm doing. I'm voting Joel.
Can I get a write-in candidate for Anthony Edwards?
Oh, yes. Yes, he's the future. He's the young Congress representative that is not old enough to run for president yet or hold a cabinet position, but he will in about 4 years.
I like that.
All right, let's move on to the next category, Secretary of Defense. We have your reigning MVP, Marcus Smart, and we have Rudy Gobert of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, there are a lot of writing candidates you can have here, but some of them I use for other categories. So, Chris, what do you think? Marcus Smart or Rudy Gobert?
It's Rudy Gobert. I have to explain this too much, in my opinion. Defensive rebounds is a defensive metric. It's what ends an offensive possession.
Yes.
Like, if you don't believe me, try not getting a defensive rebound and see what happens. Right? And the last time I checked, for the last 8 years, like, nobody really comes close except for prime Dwight Howard. And then you had Giannis in his MVP year. And then you had Russ in his triple-double year, who puts out consistent double-double in terms of rebounding and small points. He's not an offensive player. And he ends the offensive possession more times than any other player in the NBA. Like, whether it's a block, a steal, or a rebound. That's why he gets paid $38 million, people. And he's worth every penny of it. What Marcus Smart did was be the best defensive guard and best defender on the perimeter for Boston, who went to the finals, right? Like, he has a cachet of tough-nosed, gritty play. He's a hell of a defender. But if you're going to say, I need one player to build around to play the perfect defense, like, you're hard-pressed not to pick in prime Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, you're not giving away the amount of draft picks that the Minnesota Timberwolves gave away, the amount of players that Minnesota Timberwolves gave away for Marcus Smart. That's not happening. I mean, it's just it's not happening. The effect that Rudy Gobert has on that side of the ball is just indisputable to me. And it's funny you said that, Chris, because that's what my high school basketball coach used to say all the time. He's like, the possession's not over until you get the defensive rebound. I don't care about how good we defend the shot. I don't care if we defend the whole shot clock. If we don't get the rebound, our job's not done. And Rudy Gobert makes sure the job is done, and he protects the rim better than probably any player that I've seen. If I'm being, I mean, you have Hakeem, you have Dwight, but like, he's up there for sure, in my opinion. At least I'm not going to say he's better than those guys defensively, but he's in the conversation, at least. I think, at least.
He's the preeminent center defender for like the last decade in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, when Dwight Howard was hurt and he started his downtrend, like, Rudy Gobert picked up. Yeah. And I think the problem is he just doesn't do anything offensively. So people just discount actually what he does defensively. So I agree.
Yeah, and then also, like, the game has changed now. There's a lot of pick and roll up top. It's a guards game, really. So, it's not back in the day in the 2000s where everyone was just kind of trying to get the ball to the rim. Three-pointers were less prevalent. I mean, if it was the 90s, I know that we talk about generations all the time, but if Rudy Gobert was in the 90s, I think he'd be even better. He kind of plays in the wrong generation. Seriously, I think he plays in the wrong generation. And
I can see that.
Still an all-star. So shout out to Rudy Gobert. Shout out to Rudy. Next, we have the Secretary of Education, CJ McCollum, who is the president of the Players Union, and Kyrie Irving, who is in the media a lot for his takes and for his intellectualism. Head of the education department. Who are you voting for?
It's a very good way to put it, too.
Thank you.
CJ McCollum does a fine job. He's a statesman.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize the amount of work he puts in off the court to really take the Players Association, I think, into the next step. And he doesn't get a lot of credit. A lot of people look at LeBron A lot of people look at Chris Paul and what they've done, but every player in the last 2 years and for the next decade will probably have CJ McCollum to thank, because I think he is a phenomenal leader who's going to be able to take this negotiation in stride and put the Players Association in the best position. But like Kyrie Irving actually makes you think. Like, he actually makes you have to look stuff up.
He does.
So, like, just in that, he's got half the job done.
Even if he's wrong, he makes you, like, do some research so you know that your take on whatever he's saying is correct. Because if you come incorrect to him and his fan base, they will eat you alive.
So like, they tried.
Yeah, they tried, at least.
They tried, and you just asked the question, but, like, that's half the job. If you can inspire someone in almost any way that causes no personal harm to go better themselves,
right?
That's half the job. So, like, you really kind of have to lean towards Kyrie. But then the thing about the Secretary of Education, like, the main goal is to create a well-informed individual who can make critical decisions.
Right.
And let's be honest, the track record for the last 18 months or so hasn't really been good.
Can't vote for him.
So just by default, I got to go with CJ McCollum. I have to.
You have to go with CJ McCollum. You know, Kyrie, here's a difference between CJ and Kyrie in my mind. CJ has the maturity and the temperament of a professional, of a college professor, of somebody who knows what they're talking about. Kyrie has a curiosity of a student who hasn't learned yet. And I would rather that professional, I would rather that college professor be in charge than someone who's still learning, who's still trying to find their way. Because we don't have to get into what Kyrie's comments are and everything like that. That's a whole episode if we wanted to. I think I'm going to be incredibly reductive here. I think Kyrie has a good heart. I think Kyrie means well. I think his comments and what he posted have been incredibly just like ignorant and disrespectful and hurtful to the Jewish community. But I think in the long run, he's someone who's searching for answers. But if you're searching for answers, you can't be the head of the education department. I'm sorry. That's at least how I feel.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. I did think, you know, as the elder statesman, though, we have to put Chris Paul, you know, somewhere up there. I feel bad that he's left out. Like, I really do. Maybe
he's retired.
Maybe
he's held the position for the past, like, 12 years. He's the former Secretary of Education.
Cool. I like that.
There we go. All right. Last but not least, we have the president of the National Basketball Association, the face of the league, 1A and 1B, as Twitter likes to call them, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Steph Curry. Chris, where are you going with this, man?
Like, I'm gonna get roasted. I am not picking Steph Curry. I am not picking Steph Curry.
I think I just heard Matt screaming from across.
Oh,
from across
shout
the
out to Matt doing big things, man. Point to you.
Yeah.
I get it. He's off the NBA Finals MVP. He won the championship with the Warriors. But when you look at, like, who the face of the league is, it's a two-tiered question. Who's going to draw the people now is always there. And Steph and Giannis, they're going to do that. But this season's kind of shown the mortality of Golden State. And the one thing when you look at the election cycle, if you have a wounded candidate, that wounded candidate doesn't seem to do well in the election. And right now, he's got a dude who got punched, a dude who's halfway out, a guy who's not back to his old self and probably won't be, and another young player who just isn't getting the minutes he needs to develop. And then, like, your best player now, the second best player on the team, is Andrew Wiggins, who's doing absolutely everything like a Swiss Army knife. And that just doesn't go well. Like, if you're going to go to a voter and say, hey, I know you really like this guy, but, like, look what's happening right now, they tend not to vote for that guy.
You just described NBA inflation. That's exactly what that is.
Don't get me started. I can be here all night. So then you look on the other side, and Giannis, until he ran into the buzzsaw that is DeJounte Murray, and there's another hot take for you that I'll close with if you have time.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Giannis had his team 8-0.
Yeah.
without his best player in Chris Middleton, with Drew Holiday playing up and down. Javon Carter is getting 26 minutes per game.
Right. Grayson Allen is gracing
And
our television screens.
They're 8-1, 9-1 now, 9-1, and it's because of Giannis. And we are in a transition period from the LeBron and Steph era, and Luka isn't there yet.
Right.
Like, he's close, but like, he's still 23. He's not there yet. Jokic isn't there. Who's there? Giannis is there. He's already won one, and he's looking like he's got Milwaukee primed for another. And if he does, what do we say? Like, who's going to challenge him if that team is healthy? So Giannis by default.
Yeah, my answer here is Giannis as well, especially because I have the Bucks win the championship. They're my preseason pick, and typically the champion has the face of the league. And right now, the Warriors are the champion, so you think it's Steph. When you get off to a 4-7 start, like you said, it's like inflation, baby. Things are going wrong. You're not looking so good. You might be fine yourself, but the things around you that might be out of your control are happening, and you really don't have answers for it right now. So, and also Giannis is younger. I think Steph had his heyday, when they were going against LeBron and the Cavaliers. He was kind of the face of the league when he came onto the scene. But I think Giannis is a great representative for the league. He doesn't get into trouble. He's staying in Milwaukee, a small market. He's funny. He's quirky. He's just about the game. There's no drama. If I was to cast a vote right now, it would be for Giannis. But I would also say thank you to Steph, because I think Steph has been a great representative the whole time. I think the NBA is in great hands. I think it's time for a transfer of power, though. I think Giannis is our man. But I want to end our election segment. Thank you for casting your ballot, Chris. It's very important to vote. I hope everybody out there, on a serious note, made their voice heard no matter what side of the aisle that you're on. You went to the polls and you voted.
Absolutely.
It's a civic duty in our country. A lot of people have fought for that duty, including Chris. Thank you for that. But I want to stay on the topic with the Golden State Warriors. They're 4-7. Chris, you mentioned all the problems going wrong with them. Is this something that you foresee happening for the rest of the year? Not that they're going to be below 500, but these are going to be problems that extend the whole year. Are you worried at all?
When we looked in the beginning of the season, when I did the preseason rankings, I had them with the most wins, right? But with 55. I foresaw a slaughterhouse on both sides of conferences. The East is loaded, the West is loaded. The Warriors played the most basketball. The Celtics played the most basketball. The Warriors are older than the Celtics. I thought there'd be some attrition. I'm starting to get really worried.
Yeah.
And there's 3 reasons why. And it has nothing to do with the starters. It has everything to do with Steve Kerr not knowing what he has in the bench. And the bench unit is completely different from last year. It has a completely different feel. And Dante DiVincenzo is not healthy. He wasn't healthy really during training camp and preseason. So he hasn't really been able to get in there and be that secondary facilitator leader that they've actually missed since Sean Livingston retired.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Andre Iguodala's not playing. I don't know if he's going to play, and I don't even know how much he has left. But he has the ability to communicate what they need done offensively and defensively, and they're missing that on that bench unit. And then they have 3 players that they've kind of miscast. Jordan Poole was groomed to start, and he's not starting. And now he's being asked to do something that they just spent an entire year telling him not to do. And that's hard. If you go for a job and they're like, hey, we're going to switch you over, you need to do this. And you put in work, you get your personal trainers and you put in work day in, day out to do what they tell you to do. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, plans change. We now need you to do this. But you didn't do that in the off season. You didn't work on what is required to be the 6th man and the lead facilitator. And then you have Moses Moody, who can't get regular minutes but needs minutes. But you can't send him to the G League. Bro's going to put 30 points up on the board. Right. You've got Jonathan Kuminga, who's been in and out, but you can't put him in the G League. He'll put 30 points up on the board. And then you have James Wiseman, who doesn't fit the offensive model for your team, but you drafted him because of the physical measurements and measurables, but you can't work him in there because he's not a pick and pop big. And he's not rolling right because Golden State requires passing on the perimeter. And the only player that really ever looks for him is Steph. And Steph doesn't really lob him because Steph goes for that nice high, finger roll. So, like, there you go. Those are the three problems. And until Steve Kerr can figure it out, like, they're stuck.
Yeah, they don't make a lot of moves typically at the deadline, the Golden State Warriors, but I think this year they're going to make a lot. And I think it's going to be for a lot of veterans and like veteran presence that can pretty much anchor that second unit. I think the biggest thing with that, and you pretty much said it, but I'm just saying a different way. They don't have an identity in the second unit. You know, a lot of the times you knew exactly what you were getting with the Warriors second unit. It wasn't the same as the first, but I mean, they played a brand of basketball that catered to themselves. Like everyone had a role and they knew what they were doing. With this second unit, not only are they really young and they're not good defense, no one knows what's going on. It's just kind of like give Jordan Poole the ball and hope something good happens. So to me, you hit it right on the head, man. It's a different feel that I don't think can be changed with coaching philosophy, and I don't think can be changed with the type of roster they have right now. I do think there needs to be some sort of changes, but I don't think those changes are too far away, and I don't think those changes are impossible. I think they're going to be very busy at the deadline, or they have to be. If changes aren't made, then I'd be very worried. But I do see some changes happening. I just don't know what they are yet. I have to see who's available during the trade deadline. Now, Chris, I wanted to ask you about the Utah Jazz. We have to talk about the Utah Jazz. They are first in the West. They are 9-3. I can't even believe I'm asking you this question. Are the Jazz a Western Conference contender?
No.
Good.
No.
Tell it like it is, Chris. Tell it like it is.
They're not. Nature abhors a vacuum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And once a vacuum is present in nature, everything around it rushes to the vacuum to fill the vacuum. And so, like, what does that mean in regards to what the Utah Jazz have done? Well, Danny Ainge was able to get a lot of decent to good players. Like, Lauri Markkanen, for what he is a good player. He was just used wrong in Chicago, so everybody thought he was supposed to be this rebounding big. Like, no, he is what Kristaps Porzingis was supposed to be.
Kinda.
A 20-8 guy who can spread the floor and wave his arms around because he's tall.
KP was different, man. When he was, whew.
I don't believe that. I lived it.
I saw it. Chris, I saw everything, man. I'm a Nick.
Yeah. All right,
but go ahead.
Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
Like, I have watched him since high school. Like, I watched the game where he went 3-on-5 at Alabama and almost won. He's a dog. He doesn't quit. But then you just got chuckers. Like, a whole squad of chuckers. And then Mike Conley, the ageless wonder, has turned into a chucker. And now he's averaging like the third most assists in his career. So, like, they're throwing out 44 3-points per game.
Yeah.
Like,
it's unbelievable.
But they're hitting on 50%.
It's unsustainable.
Regression's coming. Like, they're going to regress to the means. They're going to throw out 40 shots, and they're going to start hitting 15.
Yeah.
And, like, other teams who are throwing out 26 are hitting 13. And that's only a 6-point difference. They're not getting to the line enough. They don't play defense well enough to survive a 5-minute stretch of not hitting shots. So, no, I don't believe they're contenders. And then the real key, this is how I really know they're not, is Danny Ainge is still out there trying to get more draft picks.
He's got to be so pissed off with what's going on right now.
So, like, Clarkson's on the block.
Yeah.
Olynyk is on the block. Beasley's on the block. Like, everybody not named Kessler, Vanderbilt, the young kid out of Kansas who they traded in the Donovan Mitchell trade. His name's escaping my mind. Everybody else is available.
Yeah.
But, like, they're 9-3.
Yeah, they just want Kessler.
Yeah. He's stuck.
Yeah.
He's stuck. And that's why I know he's going to end up being unstuck, because he wants to tank. He made no qualms about it. Like, he didn't.
Made it really obvious.
And Will Hardy is just proving everybody who thought he was going to be the next Boston coach. When Brad Stevens stepped down, it was Will Hardy's job. And then they chose Ime Udoka.
Right.
And now, like, word out of Boston is, like, they're pissed because, like, they messed up.
Yeah, well, hindsight. That's hindsight. Yeah. I mean, Udoka took him to the finals. But, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, well, it is. But it was his job. Like, that's why they hired him in the first place.
Right.
So, like, to see Will Hardy succeed is really what I take out of it. And what I would warn everybody is you better hope that this is still Boston Danny Ainge. Like, if this is Danny Ainge that learned from his last 4 years at Boston, Utah's going to be back. And, not in 5 years, next year.
Yeah.
And if not next year, the immediate year after that, because Will Hardy is legit. And maybe he leaves Utah to go to San Antonio if Pop retires because he's from that tree. I don't see it happening because he's an Ainge guy. But, man, kudos to you Utah fans who did not jump off the ledge in the offseason and stuck around. Take note. You know, you're good. You're golden. Yeah, you like how I worked that in there.
Yeah, that was nice, man. You know, I'm rooting for Utah because they feel like the anti-hero, like the anti-super team that like, yeah, guys, you see what happens when you get a bunch of players who will fit their roles. And like, so like that part of me is like rooting for them. Like, yeah, you show them, be the number one seed over all the super team. And it's like, but you do know they remind me of a lot like if Jeremy Lin was a team. Where it's like bursting onto the scene, 9-3, taking the league by storm, and the whole league and everybody watches like, how the fuck is this happening right now? I do not understand this, but we know that at some point this is going to come crashing down. So that's where I think Utah's coming. It's going to happen. There's going to be a point in time where they have like a 6, 7, 8 game losing streak. The honeymoon period's going to be over, and Danny Ainge is going to be able to relax and take a deep breath and realize that, tanking season is upon us. And, I want to move over to Danny because, this is throwing a wrench in his plans. How does this change that, though? I mean, if you're Danny, like, what do you do? Are you just sitting back, like, just waiting for that drop-off to come? And if it doesn't come, like, what do you do?
Well, I think he's in a pickle except for one thing. As long as he makes a trade to a team that's trying to contend or is a contender, he's not going to get dinged by the NBA for tanking, right?
Right.
If he ends up trading like Malik Beasley, in 3 picks to get another pick, then he's going to get dinged for tanking. But all he's really doing is creating higher trade value, right? True. You got Clarkson and Beasley between 12 and 15 million. You have Kelly O at 16 to 17. You have Lauri Markkanen. All of these players make half, 2/3 of the max, right? That's going to be just pure money come trade deadline because you're going to have teams like Milwaukee who's going to say, we like what Grayson Allen has done, but for $8 million, he ain't giving us everything we need. Why don't we put him and Jordan Nwora and send the first round and pick up Jordan Clarkson, who's going to give us double what Grayson does.
Right.
And he's just going to pick up like another 4 to 6 first round draft picks between the trade deadline and the draft. And like he really is going to go in and build a team around Lauri Markkanen and Kessler and Colin Sexton. It's insane, but he's doing it. And it's going to be hilarious.
It is going to be hilarious. I mean, it's already hilarious to see. I mean, there's shots of him on the bench. And I know it's coincidental and whatnot, but they'll show him like on the bench, just like staring at the TV, like at the game. Like, I cannot believe they're winning. I just can't believe it. It's hilarious. I love to watch it. It's hilarious. His plans are being ruined. Let's move on. Last time you were on the show, we had this segment where you compared NBA teams to food dishes, to meals, to dinners, to entrees. And for those of you who don't know, Chris is a chef. Would you like to expand on that? I don't want to speak for your credentials. So let everybody know how much of a foodie you are and your experience in the kitchen.
Yeah, I worked for a Food Network chef after I joined the military, went to culinary school, worked in that life and for about 5-6 years until I became a single dad. And then realized that wasn't going to work. Food-wise, though, like I've been around the world. I've had almost every cuisine. I think there's only maybe 3 main cuisines that I have yet to have in terms of regionality. In this country, I've had everything: Canada, South America, a couple places in Africa I still haven't been to that's on the bucket list. But yeah, no, I love food. I think everybody should love food. If you don't love food, I kind of feel bad for you. But that just means more for me. And that's okay. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to give you some dishes here.
Yeah, and also we told you to follow him at HoopSpaces. If you follow him at HoopSpaces, you're going to see a lot of food hot takes, and I'll be honest, you're going to see a lot of food shaming. You are. You just he's going to post something about a food you like that you're going to be offended by. Like for me, it's French fries. I love French fries. He thinks they're crap.
I don't know why. I really don't.
Well, we're going to get into this segment just like last time he was on the show. I'm going to name a team, and Chris is going to compare them to a dish. Ready to do this?
I am.
All right, so the first team we got is the New Orleans Pelicans.
The New Orleans Pelicans are a muffaletta sandwich, right? Now, I don't know how well-versed people are in terms of Louisiana and New Orleans fare. It's a large sandwich.
Okay, big food.
And like, you get hungry down there for Mardi Gras. And, like, you see on the counter of a bar this large sandwich. And it looks tasty. And you go over there and you start looking at it and you're like, you know what? This looks on point. The bread looks nice and crispy. I can smell the aroma of whatever aioli they're using. I see the lunch meat. It's primo stuff. They're slicing in front of me. And then like they put this stuff on. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go try it. And you take the bite and like the olives just smack you in the face. And that's what the New Orleans Pelicans are. Like all off season, we had to hear how deep they were, how awesome they are, how they can guard 1 through 5,
right.
How they can put out a lineup where Zion Williamson will be the smallest dude. You're 5-5. You're a muffaletta. Put him in a po' boy. Work on that, and we'd be good.
Whew. I've never had that sandwich, but you described it perfectly. I think I feel like I had it. And I agree with you with the Pelicans, too. I think they were slightly overrated by everybody going into the season. I thought they'd be good, but I didn't think they'd be Western Conference contenders. So I think your comparison right now is on point. Let's move on to the next team. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves. What dish are they?
All right, so cake is horrible. Like, cake is just trash. I can't stand cake. All cake. Like, Tres Leches is okay.
Strawberry shortcake.
No, like, that's not a cake. It's a cookie. It's actually it's a cookie. It's not a cake. Like,
okay.
I'm a pie guy.
It says cake in the name. It says cake in the name. Strawberry shortcake says cake.
Well, shortcake is a cookie.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you. You're right.
But I'm a pie guy, right? Minnesota is known for their blueberry pies.
Okay.
Right? They're delicious. They're tart. It's the only way that I like blueberries. I don't normally like blueberries, but it's really good. Until you have that one bite too much. And then you take that one bite too much and you get absconded with this bitterness. And when I look at the Minnesota Timberwolves and I see you shell out 4 first-round picks for a DPOY candidate, and you're going to tell me you're going to run the Twin Tower set with a big who doesn't ever want to be a big, I get a bitter taste in my mouth.
I do too.
Like, you should be dominating. There shouldn't be a rebound available between the two 7-footers.
That's true.
Plus a switchable wing who jumps like he's flying off a trapeze. Like, you should be dominating, and yet you're not. And that's really bitter. And that's why, like, you just take a look at it, and you put the slice of the pie down. You pick up the water, and you move on. Like, I am worried that the biggest problem with the Timberwolves is that they are blueberry pie, and Chris Finch doesn't know how to make it better.
See, now, this was my team that I picked to be the biggest dumpster fire in the league. I was not high on the Timberwolves at all going into the league, going into the year. And it's not because of Rudy, sort of say. I think that he kind of throws off the offensive dynamic as well. You know, you have Anthony Edwards who doesn't want all these big guys around. And then you have Karl-Anthony Towns, what you just said. He should be down there dominating, down low. I can say that offensively too, but now he wants to play the perimeter and shoot the three. And I understand he's one of the best big 3-point shooters ever. But I like Cat when he's aggressive. I like Cat when he's going to the hoop. I don't want to give him an excuse to just chill out on the perimeter and do that all the time. To me, there's some type of, they're not in sync. There's something about them that I don't like. And with their personalities, how Rudy and Donovan got into it in Utah, Anthony Edwards and his personality, and Cat, how he can be kind of flaky sometimes. I just foresaw a garbage fire, and I'm not saying it's there yet. They're average. It's not like they're 2-9, but I can see this going down south very, very fast. That's just, I don't know. I think I might be right on this. I might be right.
I kind of agree with you.
All right, let's move on to the next team. It is the Philadelphia 76ers. What food dish is your favorite team? This is your favorite team.
This should be a layup, right? I should be able to walk in here and say the Philadelphia 76ers are a cheesesteak.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're not. They are not an iconic Philadelphia team.
Man.
They are a roast pork sandwich. All right, like, believe it or not, a roast pork sandwich in Philly is actually a traditional fare. Like, it's something that you convince yourself tastes better than what it really does. Okay? Now, for all you roast pork fans, you can at me at Twitter. It's just the truth. Like, you ain't gonna convince me that roast pork tastes better than barbacoa, because it doesn't. And that's the problem, is that with James Harden healthy, you have two players who play the same position, with him and Tyrese Maxey. With PJ Tucker and Tobias Harris, you have two players who play the same position, the corner big, the corner four.
Yeah.
And they don't play their best defender until everybody's hurting with T. Steibel. Yeah, I know he can't shoot. Neither could Tony Allen. Didn't stop him.
True.
You don't have a backup point guard. Love DeAnthony Melton. You're not a backup point guard. You're a backup combo guard who's an ace defender. I love you. Please stay. Love it. You've got George Niang. He just hit 7 threes, but you know what else did he do? He hit 7 threes because that's all he does. He's like a 6'7" Furkman Korkmaz. And we have a hole. And that hole's name is Montrezl Harrell. He comes in to replace Joel Embiid, and we're not getting the Trez from the Clippers. We're not getting the 16 and 8. We're getting a guy who is a heady player, who can box out and give you energy, but we're no longer seeing the difference maker off the bench that ate up the backup 4s and 5s. And if Embiid isn't healthy, you see what happens. Tyrese Maxey's going to go 10 for 30.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris is going to be solid like he always is, and people will complain that he's making too much money when he's not. And then you have no upside. Zero. And that is what a roast pork sandwich is. Zero upside.
Now, I was wrong about the Sixers. I just kind of gloated about the Pelicans and T-Wolves kind of being right about them, but I was wrong on the Sixers, man. I thought the Sixers, I don't know why I keep doing this, man. I put my faith in these guys every year. Like, no, wait, hold on. This is the year. Wait, no, hold on. They got it. This is it. I mean, the writing was on the wall, like Joel Embiid, runner-up, MVP. This is the year he does it. Like, James Harden looks good. It looks healthy. Like, this was the year. I thought, okay, if they're going to get their act together, it has to be this year. And they're just disappointing. There's no other word to describe it. It hurts. And you're a fan of the team, so I can't even imagine how it feels for you.
I'm over here saying Doc Rivers is a great coach every day.
Oh, yeah, that's something I see you going back and forth with people every day. I just saw it like 2 minutes ago. All right, let's move on to the next team. It is the Brooklyn Nets. What dish are they?
You know what? Not only am I going to give you a dish, I'm going to give you the place to go.
Oh, okay. Take notes.
Go to the Court Pastry in Carroll Gardens and get yourself an Italian biscotti.
Okay.
Because that is what the Brooklyn Nets are.
An Italian biscotti, okay. Is that a good thing? It sounds delicious.
A dried piece of bread cookie that you use to stir a cappuccino. Like, that is literally what this is. You wake up in the morning and you want something to go with this coffee. And the first thought in your mind is, let me get this dry biscotti and go ahead and convince myself that it's what I want by dipping it in the coffee. I don't we just talked about Philly and their problems.
God.
Brooklyn, this dates back to what's his name? The Russian owner.
Prokhorov.
He walks in and says, I'm gonna buy a championship. Where's the championship? Where's my parade down Flatbush? He sells the team. Joe Tsai comes in. They sign KD and Kyrie. They do what LeBron does. They don't get the same treatment. Where them Flatbush? I want to know. I will drive there to get that parade on Flatbush so Nets fans can yell at me and tell me they were right. Because I need Nets fans to like themselves. because their team, they're not really giving them a lot to like.
No.
Like outside Royce O'Neal and now Cam Thomas, who magically found the floor all of a sudden, it's just KD. And that's just a dry biscotti. It doesn't fulfill you. You're not happy. You just convince yourself that it's cool.
That made too much sense. Too much sense. And shout out to Net Space. The Net Spaces are the most unhinged spaces. I don't know if you know that. Like by far.
They're up there.
I know a lot of people like around the country don't think the Nets have a fan base, and it's small. It is. I mean, they don't really sell tickets, but if you went on a hoop space, a Nets, oh my God, it's unhinged. Unhinged is a nice word. But let's move on to the next team.
It changes every day.
Oh my goodness. This fan base is actually not unhinged. They're probably the nicest fan base I come across. The Portland Trailblazers. What dish are they?
Look, if you ever go to Portland and you do not avail yourself of some fresh salmon, like you're doing yourself a disservice.
Okay.
All right. People counted out the Portland Trailblazers. The moment that they said, hey, we are going to stay with a small 2-guard lineup and then go get a power forward who doesn't rebound and then re-sign a center who always gets hurt.
Right.
And then bring in another wing who does everything but really score in Josh Hart. And yet they're winning. And they're winning because they have something. And that something is called substance. Like, there is not a team that I think has been galvanized by their head coach more than Portland has been by Chauncey Billups. Now, that doesn't mean I think he's a great coach.
Right.
What that means is I think he has a better way of effectively communicating than a lot of good coaches right now in the league. And if he can maintain that and build up his acumen and X's and O's in real time, you're looking at a team that might transition from Damian Lillard in 3 to 4 years to Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharp and still be competitive.
Right.
Like, this is not just about them winning now. What we're seeing in Portland is a substantive culture build. And we need to actually respect that and give them credit for it, which is why I'm saying salmon, just a real nice pan-seared salmon with some lemon butter and chives, served with roasted asparagus, right?
Okay,
People think it's frou-frou, but it's not. It's simple, and it's hearty, and it fills you up. Good job, Portland.
All right, let's move on to the next team. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kind of surprising some people out of the gates. Kind of surprising not too many people. It depends on how high you were with the Donovan Mitchell trade. What dish are they?
You know, like Cleveland, like they are that cake that you order from San Francisco on DoorDash.
Okay.
That gets shipped to you. Like, they really did this. They ordered a 7-tier cake from DoorDash from Utah and
right.
Donovan Mitchell. And he comes in and everything is so sweet and lovely and good that we can't see the potential pitfalls.
Ooh.
So, like, they ascend to the second spot in the East. But if you look at who they played, they have almost as many wins as the combined record of the people they played.
They haven't played anyone yet. Well, they beat the Celtics.
One team.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when they start getting challenged, we'll see how they respond. Because, like, right now, what I think they're doing is just outpowering and outshooting the teams that they were going to beat anyway. And like, if they go through games where Karis LeVert is 3 for 16 as a small forward who's starting and playing 32 minutes, they're not going to beat the Atlanta Hawks who have, like, 4 guys at 12 points per game and 2 guys at 22 plus, right? They're not going to beat Giannis. Like, they're going to struggle with the Bulls, to be honest. And that's the problem with Cleveland, is like they're going to be too top heavy, just like that cake. You get that first bite, and it's the icing, and it hits you.
Yeah. But
then you don't taste anything else, like, because it's just overloaded with sugar. And I think that's where we're at with Cleveland. And I think once teams start figuring out really how to defend Darius Garland as opposed to Donovan Mitchell, they're going to have to be forced to figure out how they're going to get that third scorer, and they no longer have a Colin Sexton or a Lauri Markkanen. They're relying on Kevin Love right now off the bench to be that guy.
He's killing it right now. He's a 6th man of the year candidate. Well, I wouldn't say that more, but he's one of the best bench players in the league right now for sure.
But is he going to last for another 70 games?
I mean, if he's just picking and popping, shooting threes, maybe.
I don't know.
We'll
so
see.
There you go. Like that expensive cake that looks really delicious. Boom.
All right, and last but not least, how to go there? The Los Angeles Lakers. What food are they?
Yo, these are your French fries.
No!
This is your Captain Crunch.
Come on, Chris.
Yo, this is your Apple Jacks.
You don't like Apple Jacks?
Why would I like Apple Jacks?
That's right. You think cereal's like dry pet food.
Human pet food.
Yeah, that's right.
They're 2-8. Maybe even 2-9, and they haven't even played today.
What's so bad about French fries? How are French fries, like if there was like a food league, be 2-9?
Because the overproliferation of belief, right? Like McDonald's and Burger King really have you thinking French fries are all that because they basically advertise French fries are all that for your entire life. Okay. People think the Lakers are all that because they've been advertised as all that their entire life. I remember when the Lakers sucked. And you know what? It's coming sooner rather than later. And you're seeing it right now at 2-8.
Yeah.
Wenyen Gabriel started at center. You have Anthony Davis on your roster.
Right.
Kendrick Nunn.
Hard times are here. Hard times are already here. It's not coming. They're here. Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder. Like, Troy Brown is the savior of the Lakers season. You're 2-8. French fries. Just overrated, man.
All right, Chris. Well, that's going to do it. I know you said you had a hot take to close the show, so I'm going to let you get that off before we say goodbye. What's your hot take?
All right. You ready?
Yep.
DeJounte Murray is better than Trae Young.
How does Alex feel about that?
But I've been on this for a while.
Ooh.
And, like, I love it because I'm being proven right. Who's the better defender? Who's
DeJounte.
better in transition?
DeJounte.
Who's better volume facilitating, right? Trae. Volume facilitating. Who's matching his volume? DeJounte. Who has the higher usage? DeJounte. Who gets the team running in transition? DeJounte. Who plays both ways on the hardest player to guard on the opposite team? DeJounte, DeAndre Hunter.
Here's the thing with Trae. Trae literally, I think, is probably like the pick and roll that they have with him. To me, is probably one of the hardest things to stop in the league. Period. It's almost you can't sag on it because he'll hit the three. He can find the roller, and if you help too much, he can find the shooter. Like he's too good at that. So I get what you're saying, but I think Trae's ability off the pick and roll is so freaking valuable, man. I don't know if DeJounte has that sort of say, but maybe overall player, I get where you're going. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, but defensively might put him over the top too. That's another thing because Trae is such a liability.
All I see is a win for me. DeJounte Murray better than Trae Young.
All right.
I'm there.
All right. I love it, man. I love it. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you once again. And anything that you want to promote, you do so now.
Yeah, find me on Twitter. We're actually looking at a couple others, like AMP and Spotify. A couple people have reached out. But right now, like, we are ingrained in Twitter Spaces. It's where the people are. Over 200 people log into Twitter every day. Over 20 million NBA fans log on. Like, that's just the numbers that I've seen. You can find me at HoopSpaces, HoopSpaces. You can also actually sign up for the free newsletter that we started this year. I actually recap every game. Last night was the first night that I did not watch every game.
Wow. Every game? Like,
I have
League
watched
Pass
I have watched every game, at least the minimum of all offensive possessions. I've recapped every single game. If you do want something that is like not opinion-based, just factual information about basketball, check us out. We're on Review. Just search Review HoopSpaces. It'll pop up. You'll get it daily in your inbox and just add an email. It's dope. We also get a spotlight of creators, which I want to get you on there so we can highlight people like you living the dream and giving us the content that we want as NBA fans. So thank you for doing 134 episodes. It's hard work, and I'm appreciative.
Yeah, man, no doubt. I mean, you're honestly, one of the best people I've come across in this industry. Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, you do a lot for other people, and you're a smart basketball fan. You're a smart person in general, and you're a very kind individual. I think that's more important, if that makes any sense. I mean, you can be doing all this, but if you're doing this for yourself, it kind of defeats the purpose. But you're definitely putting a lot of people on, you're giving a lot of people a voice and a chance to make a career in the sports media world. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you giving me the platform, even though I haven't really been on as much lately. I definitely plan to, but it's definitely turned into a community that I love. It's my favorite part of Twitter now, and honestly, probably the only reason why I'm staying on Twitter with everything that's going on. So shout out
You're
to
not
you,
the
man.
only one who told me that.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah. So yeah, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Josh Rodriguez the dime at the dime NBA. That's on all social media platforms. Tune in next week. Just Blaze will be my guest. He's the host of the Above the Rim podcast. He's been on my show about 4 or 5 times already. We're good friends. He hasn't been on in a while, so I'm looking forward to that. So until next week, I'll catch you then. Peace.